Welcome to the Measurement Doctor Podcast. The doctors are in the house. And now your hosts, George and Lori Gill. All right, welcome to the Measurement Doctor Podcast, episode number, what are we, number 42, I think, right?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we got a really special episode.
I know.
Today. Yeah, I'm George Gill.
I'm Lori Gill.
Fantastic. What do we want to talk about today, Lori?
Oh, accounting.
Accounting? Oh, you're going to put me to sleep. What do you mean accounting?
I don't know. I think our guest speaker, she's pretty awesome.
Yeah?
And I think she's gonna keep you on your toes.
You're too easy. We'll see how this goes. I don't know. I'll be a little tough on her.
Don't be too tough. Come on.
Actually, today's a really great episode. We are going to be talking accounting, but we're going to talk about it from a really strategic scope. So we want to know, everybody knows if you're in business at some point in time, we have to take that dreadful step and get an accountant. It's almost as bad as a lawyer.
I don't know if an accountant is as bad as a lawyer.
Actually, I'm just kidding. I'm being facetious. Really, what I'm trying to say is that what we want to learn today from our guest is why we want to actually embrace that relationship and why businesses need to take a different perspective as opposed to, them and us. How do we work together to actually help grow our businesses faster, stronger, better? And I'm really looking forward to today's interview because I want to dive deep into that concept and really learn from this guest speaker. And hopefully pass that on to our listeners, a whole new mentality, a whole new approach about how they think about accounting in the role of their business and what role it does play. So why don't you go ahead and introduce who we have today on the line?
All right. Well, today we have Gwyneth James of Cody and James, Certified General Accountants. Gwyneth and her partner Suzanne have grown their firm into an important resource for all small business owners in the Kawarthas in Peterborough. They add a friendly dose of advice, humor, I added that, guidance, and the staple services of accounting, taxes, bookkeeping, payroll, everything kind of that falls under the umbrella of accounting. Gwyneth also has a financial management consulting business with clients in the public sector. She's passionate about the community, as I am fully aware because we are members of WBN, Women's Business Network, together. And Gwyneth is always globetrotting all over the place, helping small businesses and businesses within the community. She's served on a lot of boards for nonprofits as well. And I'm thrilled that you're here with us today, Gwyneth, because I know you're a wealth of information. So,
absolutely,
happy to be here.
Fantastic. Now, listen, this is video too, so we're going to have this on YouTube, everybody. If you want to see us live in Memorex, and every once in a while, Lori and I'll do body checking just to add to the show. Seriously,
I don't have anybody to body check.
Gwyneth, thanks for taking the time to be on the show with us today. We know how busy you are. Just sheer communication back and forth is really good. So we're going to try and respect your time and at the same time deliver a lot of great information to our listeners. So thank you so much. Perfect. So let's start out by talking a little bit about when I'm really big enough, because as a small business, when I'm starting out, I'm thinking, how do I keep my costs tight? And obviously, right, we're thinking about how to generate revenue and not spend any. But I think we got to take a bigger open impression. Before we get into the nitty and gritty of accounting, at what point do you think I'm big enough to actually hire an accountant for my business, and why?
It depends on the person. Some people should hire an accountant from day one because they are really good at what they do, but they have absolutely zero interest in finding out what's allowed to be deducted, what's the best way to record their financial transactions. Some folks will go on the CRA website and they will do a ton of research on their own, and they don't really need me. But the ones who really just want to run their business and you really don't want to have to worry about whether they're getting themselves in trouble should come and see me right away. I meet a lot of people before they've even started. They sit down with me and they say, okay, what do I need to keep track of? What am I allowed to do for my car? What am I allowed to write off for my house? And they get that kind of stuff laid out from very, very beginning. So that's kind of the difference. How much are you willing to do some of the legwork yourself? Because a lot of the information is available online. CRA website's really not that bad. But if you just don't want to even do that time research, then come and see me and I'll dump a big brain dump for you.
Right, right. Okay, and just for our listeners outside of Canada, CRA is Canada Revenue Agency. If you're in the U.S., it's IRS, and if you're in the U.K., it's, I have no idea, would you like tea? I don't know, but I'm sure you have a wonderful government body who loves to tax you too. So that's what Gwyneth is referring to there. So at startup, if I'm willing to do a lot of the legwork and dig in myself, then, you know, use those resources. But if I'm not, if I'm really focused on getting my business off the ground, which is generally what you're doing at a startup phase, then, you know, it's more cost effective to obviously engage an accountant. And we should probably talk about the difference between accountant and maybe bookkeeper. Maybe there's some different roles and plays and advice there. But as I go forward, do I bring the accountant in just at tax time, or ideally should I be bringing them in more frequently?
Ideally more frequently. There's a lot of things that you can miss if you wait until you've been running your business for, you know, up to a year, and now it's tax time, and so you come in and you dump all this stuff. And I'm like, guys, you didn't think about this, you didn't record that, and then they're scrambling to go back a year and find the paperwork, which is really hard. So it would be better if you come and see the accountant fairly early on, so we can kind of set the process up. And if you want to run with it yourself, you're good in Excel and you want to keep track of that stuff yourself, go for it. But if you don't even know what you don't know, tax time can be too late.
That's a common problem for me, not knowing what I don't know.
So what should I do myself to get started before even coming to see you? What kind of things, you know, should I be prepared for and bring?
When I meet with brand new entrepreneurs, people who are just starting out, I want to know exactly what their idea is, what they plan to sell, where they plan to sell it, because depending on what you're selling or where you're selling it, the sales tactics can be completely different. I want to know how they plan to pay for things and whether they have opened up a new bank account for their business or had a credit card set aside that they're only going to use for business. Keep everything really, really separate. So that kind of thing, if you can come in with that much information already, great. If not, we'll go through a checklist and I'll tell you what you need to do to get going. If it's something you're doing that's really innovative, you want to see me fairly early on because I might be able to advise you about some tax credits you qualify for, or I could point you, because I am so involved in the community, I tend to know where there are funds available and I can send you off to get some funding from one of the government agencies or things like that. So if you have even the barest bones of a business plan, bring all that in.
Okay.
Yeah, it's amazing how much money is actually out there and available when you know where to look and where to go for it. And being in that industry, you're surrounded by it day in, day out. Yeah. Totally makes sense. Let's talk a little bit about designations here, because I mentioned the bookkeeper level. But I mean, when we start talking accounting, I mean, CAs, CPAs, CMAs.
Well, actually, we don't have that anymore.
Oh, really?
Because, no, that's all gone.
Okay.
Across Canada, the three designations have completely amalgamated, and we are all now just called CPAs. So you don't even have to worry about that anymore. That's gone away.
Okay.
So everybody who is an accountant, a qualified accountant, and used to be part of those three older bodies are now chartered professional accountants, CPAs. That's the new Canadian designation. You don't have to worry about the different parts anymore.
Okay.
And any one of us can, if we wish, become auditors. Most of us can. But,
Right.
but we all have to have a certain level of expertise when it comes to taxation and providing financial statements and that. So that part's easy. And then, of course, we were talking earlier about the whole idea between bookkeepers and accountants. So an accountant, in theory, nobody should call themselves an accountant unless they actually have a CPA designation. And then everybody else, and there are some very qualified bookkeepers out there who just never got those letters, they are the ones who, bookkeepers tend to just put the information into a bookkeeping software, make sure all the HST is registered properly and recorded and remitted, and they take it kind of as far as the preliminary year end, and then that's when they hand it over to us and we finish it up and do the corporate tax return or the personal tax return and their financial statement.
Okay.
That's kind of the split off one.
So I'm no longer concerned, or well, actually, I am sort of concerned now because going back in now, I'm dating myself apparently, but I always saw a CMA as very specialized in systems and business planning. Whereas I thought of a CA as more if I was going for audited statements, maybe I had a franchise or something like that, and it was a requirement. So you're saying now we've basically clumped all those together. Well, my immediate concern is how do I know when I'm talking to you or any other accountant that I'm dealing in the specialty that I really need for my business, or I think I need for my business maybe?
The same way you do for anybody else. How do I know that George Gill is actually an expert in this particular area of podcasts as opposed to somebody else who's a over there, the technical expert in marketing or something like that?
Because I'm telling you, just kidding.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
So it's the same idea. You have to actually dig it down a little bit. I mean, even in the old days, when there were CGAs, some of them could do audit financial statements. Even in the old days when there were CAs, some of them never wanted to audit a financial statement, and they just did the bare, notice to reader financial statements in the corporate taxes, which is where I've stopped too. I don't go into audit. Even in the old days, there were CMAs who actually had no idea how to do management accounting. They'd gotten the designation, but it really wasn't an area of interest for them, and they preferred to just do taxes. So you have to talk to them and say, are you a good fit? Is this the kind of work you like to do? Are you the kind of person I can talk to? You don't have to worry about the letters after the name. If they're a CPA, they will have a certain level of expertise, and they will have areas that they've decided that they're going to specialize in, just like any other designation.
Makes sense. So, I mean, you mentioned quite a few things there, and audit keeps sticking out mainly because as an entrepreneur, that word is like, scary. But what should you expect from your accountant then? If you're taking a step back and you're thinking, okay, I've listened to George and Laurie on the podcast, I definitely got to get more engaged with my accountant. Why? What should I be expecting in that relationship?
Well, to my mind, the accountant really should be a partner with you in your business, not a financial partner as in a shareholder, but they should really be somebody who you can sit down with and go, okay, I'm having trouble in this area, or I need to know how I can work on this, and they'll give you a little bit of guidance back and forth. But it depends on the accountant. Some of them are great at producing, financial statements that show you can make management decisions based on what you see there on the paper, and they can explain what those financial statements mean. Others have a little bit more background in actually running a business, but if I have somebody walk into me and say, how do I run my construction business? I've never been in construction. I can tell them a few things here and there. I can point out numbers where I compare them to stats online, and I say, geez, your gross margin isn't really that great. Is there something maybe you can do? I can tell them about other clients what they do, and maybe this might work for you as well. So, but I'm not going to pretend to be an expert in every area of every industry. But I normally try to sit down with the client and hear them out, talk about different ways they would like us to present the data. I have one client in particular, they want every job costed out. So every time their staff are on site at the Joneses' house doing some work, they want all of the costs associated with that job applied to the Jones account, so that when they see how much they billed Mr. Jones, then they can see how much it cost and whether they made any money on that. That's a very high level of bookkeeping and information that we provide that somebody else may not. So we sit down and figure out what do you need in order to make good management decisions in your business, and then we try and make sure that we meet those expectations.
Okay. All right.
How do you go about hiring an accountant? I mean, you're on the business side, but you're also on the accounting side. So if, for people like us or like yourself to go out and hire an accountant, what kind of things are we looking for?
We want the inside secret here. What should we be asking?
Well, I find most people look for a referral from somebody that they know. They also look for somebody who they connect with. And some people probably wouldn't like working with me, and other people think I'm awesome because I'll sit down and yak with them, and they like that. Other people are just like, just give me the numbers and don't quit trying to be so sociable, So it depends on with you as a personality. If you, I don't know, I'm trying to think how people, I mean, they kind of assume that if I've got letters after my name, I know what I'm doing. And quite often they look for friends or somebody to refer. I've had on a couple of occasions people ask me for a letter of reference. But it doesn't happen as often as you think. So it's mostly, you know, they wander in and they look around and they go, okay, it looks like you guys are a real accounting firm and you're handy to my location and I like yakking with you, so that's it, you're hired. And they don't do much more than that. So I don't know. It's hard to say what goes on in their mind sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that when I'm talking to other entrepreneurs, one of the things that I consistently see is they're not taking advantage of that relationship.
Oh, no, that's true.
And a lot of it comes from the aspect that they don't understand what they can get from the relationship because maybe they're not financially intuitive, or they don't understand bookkeeping. They don't understand financial statements even at a basic level. They see it as just, here's my stuff. I have to do this to comply. And they see it more as a compliance role. And I think that's really unfortunate because if we go back to the statement that you made about, your accountant should be a business partner. If that person's really truly a business partner, and I totally am on board with that statement, then what value are you bringing to the table? And I may not know what value you can bring to the table. So it's sometimes a matter of just getting clear that, listen, what do you need to know? And doing that kind of pre-checklist before you go in and talk to somebody like yourself, because when I do come in and talk to you, maybe I do need to know if am I making money on that Jones project? Do I need that kind of detail? Is it even possible? But even going a little further, if I go to the bank with my bank statements because the Jones project takes a lot of heavy equipment and I got to be worried about turning that equipment over, what's the bank going to think of my statements? And my accountant can be a critical role player in that side of my business and strategy. So I know when I go to the bank, they're going to hate this margin or they're going to really like this margin because, we've done the pre-work on it essentially.
Yeah, and I think that is really critical. I mean, I have clients who really do not, they just want the paper and they want to get fit. They aren't interested in sitting down at all. And then I have others where I will say to them, do you want me to sit and go over these with you? Is there anything about this you don't understand? And you're going to sit back and go, oh, I've never had an accountant do that before. So then we'll sit down and I'll explain some things to them. So I would make it clear that that's available to them if they want it, and some of them are interested, and some of them go, okay, that's actually very cool. I'm glad that you offered that because I didn't even know that you would take the time to do that.
Yeah, and I think that's really common. I mean, I know even with my accountant that I've been dealing with for a long time, he hates when I come in because, it's not just about, the tax. It's why are we doing this? What do you think? Do you see any red lights I haven't seen?
Is there a better way of doing
what's
this?
going on? And he'll say, well, shouldn't you tell me that? No, I'm paying you. You tell me what you think and then I'll respond. And we'll go from there. Right? So, but again, he's told me many times that is not common. Most businesses don't. They're just in there and they see it as a sense of compliance. And that's not huge value.
No, it really isn't. And I think as people, the problem is there are a lot of stuff now available online. You can actually do all of your own bookkeeping online. Mm-hmm. You can go into, QuickBooks Online or FreshBooks or one of those and do it all yourself. And at the end of the year, you just kind of hand it over to me and that's it. And then all I am is the kind of person who pushes it together and puts it into CRA, and I'm not involved at all. So if I want to make sure that my client feels that there's some value to what we provide, I absolutely have to say to them, okay, I don't mind compiling all of this into a nice, pretty financial statement, but you are darn well going to sit with me when we go over, and I'm going to go over it with you and try and explain some of the areas where I see maybe the margins aren't quite as good as they could be, or I think they're paying too much in insurance, or a few things like that. If I can find something, I will definitely point it out because I want to make sure they see that we have something of value to offer, we're not just number crunching.
Right. Yeah. No, that's excellent. That's excellent. I'm amazed at how many businesses don't know what depreciation is on the statements, right? Even something as simple as that.
Or even, as you said right from the beginning, people don't know what they can claim, what they should claim, and what they shouldn't be claiming, right? We all try to sneak as much in as we can, but are we doing more damage to ourselves?
And
right?
Sneak's a harsh word, just in case CRA is listening. Anyways, okay, so, all right, so let's look at it from the other side. And this is a side that I hear a lot of entrepreneurs say when I kind of have this conversation with them and say, you know, well, what's your accountant think? You know, as an entrepreneur, we take risks. You know, that's the nature of the beast, right? You're an entrepreneur and you're fully aware of that. So they feel that their accountant is often too conservative, or they're going to bring back a negative opinion to some of their ideas, especially in the planning stages. And I'd just like you to talk a little bit about that, because you know, when I go in and I see an accountant and I'm talking to them about an idea, that little hair on the back, you don't want the negative coming back. But on the other hand, you may have some great advice that I need to be aware of.
Yeah, and I don't really know. Some people are more open to listening than others. And I don't want to just smack down every idea someone comes at me with, because as you say, I have an entrepreneurial edge to me too. I run another business. I have some investments in real estate and things like that. So I'm not going to put them down, but you got to understand, George, like some people walk in and they've got a full hair-bearing scheme, and they just don't have the expertise. They don't have the wherewithal to see it through. It would be, I would not be able to sleep at night if I just sat there and went, oh yeah, that sounds great, yeah, go for it. Like, when deep down I'm going, oh my God, this is stupid, I gotta go.
Right.
Some people shouldn't be running their own business. It's just,
some people need to hear that, though.
They do. And so, I don't know how many times I've actually said, would you teach if they get a job? But I maybe gently suggested that maybe they need to dig in a little bit more and get some of the details and figure out what their cash flow is going to look like and figure out where they're going to market their things like that. So I try to be realistic, not overly conservative, because I know that is something that I are tainted with. But at the same time, we do know a fair amount. We have seen some real crash and burns. So, you got to listen to us, even if it's not what you want to hear, because if all we're doing is just kind of patting you on the head and going, oh, yeah, that's great, and then you crash a year later, you're going to be back at me saying, why didn't you tell me that this was a good idea?
Right. And I'm not sure it's your responsibility to say it's a good or bad idea as much as it is to say, here's the risks, here's what you need to be aware of, here's what you may not have thought of. And you just mentioned cash flow statements and budget. You didn't mention budgeting, but I kind of tie those two together, budgeting and cash flow statements. Is that one of the most missing areas that you see small businesses not taking advantage of or looking at? Because I know they're confusing, right? They can be.
They are very confusing, and we don't tend to provide them on a regular basis because people just aren't interested. They find them too difficult. A cash flow statement for a year, quite frankly, is not a very helpful document. What you really needed was a cash flow statement by the month, and there's only so much I can do to provide that. So in a perfect world, you would make yourself a business plan, and in that business plan, you would write out month to month, where's my cash inflows, where's my cash outflows, remembering that usually you've got to pay for the product before you sell it, so you've got to come up with some money to stock yourself up before you actually see any inflows coming in. And I've helped people to develop those types of documents. Cash flow statement, budget, those are all absolutely necessary, but actually the accountants don't get involved in that as much as a consultant would. Financial consultants tend to do that kind of work more than accountants do, because accountants often are brought in too late and they're not on the ground with them in the business as much as either their own internal accounting staff or a business consultant.
Now, you also have a business where you're a financial consultant too, right?
Yeah.
I remember that from the intro, yeah. That's an interesting statement, what you just said. I didn't realize that there was a separation there between the accountant and this different role.
Yeah,
that's very interesting. Yeah. Wow. I'd have to talk to you about that sometime. Go ahead.
So, what are some mistakes that you consistently see businesses making, either the things that they're missing, and I know George didn't touch on that, or the things that they're not necessarily taking advantage of that you kind of think would be common sense, but people maybe don't necessarily have that drift sense to pull it all together?
The most common mistake I find is that people, and it's all to do with taxation and CRA's audit and review systems, they assume that if they have a credit card statement and everything on the credit card statement was to do with their business, they don't have to keep all the receipts for that. That's not true. You have to keep all the receipts.
Okay.
And you know the best practice is to take all of your gas receipts, and yes, I know sometimes they get faded, but CRA will still want to see a piece of paper attached to that credit card statement with all of the bills that you charged to that credit card statement. It's because they want to see the HST number on the invoice from the gas station or from wherever you purchased that. And they just want to see where you went and what you did with it. So that is probably the biggest one that we've run across. We've had some success pushing back on that one, but it's still safer to keep every last receipt for 7 years. I mean, it's terrible.
I know our bookkeeper is very strict on that when she's reconciling credit card statements. It's like, I'm missing this, and this. Where are they? And she's on us. Like,
and that's good.
It's painful.
She's doing her job. We know.
So the other thing is that there's vehicles. Vehicles are this. I'm not even going to start in on the huge pitfall when it comes to using your vehicle for business. People should be keeping a log. They should be keeping track of when they go in their car for business, even if it's only for a couple of months, so that they can show CRA a pattern. Most of us don't do that. And then the meals thing, people think that they can go to Timmy's every day and charge that to the business because they happen to be working in their business. You have to be out of town. You have to be 80 kilometers away. You have to have been gone for 12 hours, or you're taking a
wow.
Yeah. So everybody makes that mistake. It's like,
even Starbucks?
Even
just kidding.
I'm sorry, Gwyneth, there was a disconnection there.
Just have to think yourself, if you were an employee, you were working for M&R, and you went and got your coffee, would you be able to write that off?
No.
If you went and bought your lunch and you were an employee, would you be able to write that off? No, you pack your lunch. You can't afford to buy your lunch. Pack it. It's not a business expense. You did not incur that because you had to in order to earn a profit.
Wow.
It's not a business.
There you go. I guarantee lots are making that mistake. Wow. It was kind of interesting when you said about the receipts, because I know there's a lot of people thinking now, and I'm not sure, that they don't have to keep the physical copy, that they can scan. Is that allowed?
They can. Yeah, scanning's fine. CRA will take scans and receipts.
And we can destroy the paper? We can. I mean, there's work involved with that. Pardon me?
Maybe you have it backed up somewhere.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely, and that's fully legitimate. You're good to do that now. That's good to know.
Which is actually kind of nice if you put, a pile of receipts, so it takes up like an 8.5 by 11 sheet, so to speak, and you're scanning that. Then you're not just scanning one after another.
Yeah.
You can scan them by the page.
Yeah. Well, there's actually an Evernote scanner available that you can do that automatically, and it will auto file, and it's very quite nice. Anyways,
I know. There's an app for that.
There's an app for that. You got it.
He's my app guy.
All right. So before we head into the examination room, why don't we ask?
Okay. So we always end our. We always. You'll get. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. Honest.
Don't be afraid.
We always end our interview with, if you could give one piece of advice to our listeners that they could take action on today that would benefit their business, what would your advice be?
Well, of course, it's going to be find an accountant that you are comfortable with, who can be a trusted partner with you in your business. Make sure you sit down with them fairly regularly to make sure that you're still on side and that you're making good business decisions.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
How often do you see your accountant?
I don't see him often. I see him maybe twice a year. Not enough. But I email with him a lot more than that. But yeah, so yeah, and I ask tough questions. I'm an anomaly, though, so he tells me, and based on what Gwyneth is saying, I think that it's too bad.
It's unfortunate that entrepreneurs don't take advantage of the advice and knowledge that you and your team have, because there's just so much more that they could learn and be growing their business from.
Well, and it also protects you from making mistakes, right? Mistakes that are often more costly even than the potential of growth. And it's little things, just things that you wouldn't normally catch. But
right.
All right, let's head into the examination room. It's time for the examination room. Okay, into the examination room. Go ahead, tell Gwyneth the hot seat that you just put her in.
That's right. So we like to end our episode with a quote, because everybody loves quotes, and you get to give your perspective on the quote. So the quote today is, "There are no secrets to success. It is the result of preparation, hard work, and learning from failure." Colin Powell.
How could I disagree with Colin Powell?
Well, you probably shouldn't, based on his history, but what does that say to you? What do you think about that?
I think people should listen to that quote a lot more often than they do. I have heard that quote before. I've always liked it. I think it's very, very true. I'm not going to pretend there isn't a little bit of luck involved, but you do make your own luck. And sometimes being prepared and ready for the opportunities as they arise is definitely part of success. But if anybody thinks that you can become a successful entrepreneur without working your, off, you can.
Fair enough. I like that line. You make your own luck. I like that. What do you think, Laura? What's it mean to you?
No secrets to success. I think there's strategies involved, and from the entrepreneurial side of things, looking at who you can have on your team that you can take advantage of as far as advice, and that's part of your preparation and hard work. And we're all going to make mistakes, but if we can limit some of those mistakes by bringing on resourceful people to help us make better choices and better business decisions, then we're failing forward faster with maybe a little bit less risk.
Absolutely. I really like the idea of the power team. I'm a big believer in a power team, having the right people on your team. And this doesn't have to be costly. People like Gwyneth, really, when you tap into them and you pay their fee for that service, but you truly take advantage of what they're giving you, it's very cost effective. In fact, it's darn right cheap if you're truly taking advantage of their wealth of knowledge and tapping into that. And that's the way I see a power team. I'm going to take a little different flip on this, because
you always do.
I'm going to really focus on the aspect of learning from failure. And I don't think people put enough value in learning from failure. I believe that we make a decision and then we make it right. No, there is no right or wrong decision until we've made a choice and gotten off the fence and actually stepped forward with that. However, if we look at who's making this quote, and it being Colin Powell, who has military strategy behind him in a big way, and other facets of his life that he's done, I think by doing the proper preparation and knowing full well that there's going to be hard work, and actually embracing it, looking forward to that work because it's something you're passionate about and you want to do and you want to drive forward, your failures are going to be more on target. Mm-hmm. So that's going to get you where you want to go much faster.
Good job.
There we go. All right. Well, Gwyneth, thank you so much for taking the time today. How can somebody reach out and connect with you if they want to talk to you some more about your services and what you have to offer? What's the best way?
Well, probably just pick up the phone and call me. 705-876-6011. We have a website, codyandjames.ca.
Okay.
I'm on Twitter at GHJ_CPA. I'm pretty easy to find.
And you've recently moved.
Yeah, we're on Milroy Drive now by Portage Place in the brand new building. We're very happy. We're having an open house next week, but I I don't know if that would be too late for the podcast, but we're grand opening. We're really looking forward to having some people.
That's awesome.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Well, any final words?
No, thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule and joining us live and video and all. And
it wasn't nearly as scary as I thought.
It's really not.
All right. Well, we'll put all those contact numbers in the show notes, and everybody can head over to measurementdoctor.com/MD042 for episode 42. Until next time, don't do a thing in business
or in life
unless you're measuring it. Have a fantastic day, everybody. Bye for now.